I think this one's a lot of fun. Push that tape down as usual. Then you're going to take this webbing. It's the same stuff we use at Halloween to look like spider webs. And I want you to pull it gently so that it's thin, very thin. There we go. And I kind of like to go at a diagonal just because I think it's more dynamic. Okay, so see how I stretch it and pull it. There we go. And to keep it stretched out, I recommend that you have a couple of pieces of tape ready to anchor it with. So there you go, pulling that there. And then I think it might be pretty if it came this way. Notice that I'm taping it not on the painting itself, but on the board. Ooh, this is a pretty area. I like it. So I'll just tape that down. This area, I'm going to have to tape it down or it will move when I put paint on. So let's see. That looks better. Okay. It's surprising how little of this webbing you want to use. It's good news, so you can do lots of them if you want to practice. Okay, so am I happy with that? Almost. Maybe I'm going to put just one more little diagonal going across there. So I thin it out so it's not a big clump. I tape it down on the board. See, watch me thin it out. Pull it apart. So it's really, really webby. There we go. That's more like it. And again, anchor it with some tape. And if you find that you got too big of a clump, like I think I do there, you can go in and thin it out and anchor it. Show you how to do that. Or even flip it the other way. Yeah, that's more interesting. All right, I think we got it. Now, you take a spray bottle and you spritz the whole thing. And the reason we're spritzing it is because if I tried to do this with a brush, the brush would be moving the webbing around too much. So I'm getting it wet with the spritz bottle after I get the webbing down. Okay, I'm gonna go over here, my watercolor, and with clean brush, I'm gonna choose some colors that I think would be pretty. And I'm tapping them down. Notice how I'm not moving the webbing around because I don't want to do that. I just want these colors to float around the webbing. Okay, so I've got cousin colors, you see. I have two kinds of yellows beside each other. And I think I'm gonna come in here and get some of this pinkish purpley color. And I think I'll grab a little more yellow down here and some blue. And again, I'm dashing, you know how I like to dash and just put stuff down, and then you know what I'm gonna do. I'm going to tip it and see what happens as these colors make friends with each other and invent beautiful designs and beautiful colors that I have never even thought of before. Just follow your instincts. Give it a go, be brave. Watch what happens. Ooh, that's nice. What happens if I add some yellow to that red? How about if I add some of this red to that red? So you can see that I've done a pretty good job of just tapping in color everywhere, so there aren't any white spots. Okay. I'm careful about that, so I'm just going to look through here. I think I did a pretty good job of covering everything. Okay, now for the fun stuff. We're going to tip it a little bit. See how it's following down the webbing? All right, let's try it this way. What if we did it some this way? Just having an impulse to add a little bit of yellow there. So I'm going to do that and tip that. You won't be using exactly the same proportions or the same colors. You're going to invent your own design. It's going to be fun. Just enjoy this. I see a little area there that I didn't quite get enough paint and water on. So I don't want to wash this off, but I'm just going to give it a tiny spritz. And then what that does is it frees it up to move. See how that did? So if you get a boring spot, you can do that. All right, now I'm going to go dry this in the sun. So it's pretty hard to be patient and wait for that to get dry. Sometimes I just wait overnight. If it's not a sunny day. If you have a hairdryer, you can blow it dry, but you gotta be careful or it'll just be the webbing will just fly off. So I'm gonna sit this over here for a minute, let it dry a moment longer, and I'm going to draw a butterfly. I'm not so concerned that it looks like a butterfly that really exists in the world. It can be a fantasy butterfly. But what I want you to do is take a piece of paper and fold it in half. And on the folding side, I want you to draw a head, and it looks like kind of like half of a pea maybe, and the thorax and the abdomen. Those are the parts of a butterfly. And all you need to do is think semicircle, a little bit longer, like a half of an ellipse, and then a longer oval. And then come up here, I go up to the shoulder or just below the head and go out, and then come down here and go out. So if you looked at it from a certain angle, it looks like a princess's skirt, right? And then on this side, just have some fun with shape. Because again, this is just us having a good time. Doesn't have to look like a real butterfly. Okay, so go to the bottom of the body and start cutting in. This is like you did Valentine's. And I'm not being too fussy about following the exact shape, because I might come up with a better idea as I'm cutting. But I just want an interesting, curvy kind of a butterfly wing. And see how I move my paper around? It's easier to move my paper around than it is to make my arm get in that position. Don't worry about any antenna right now, just like that. So here's the butterfly, and that's pretty nice, but we don't care about this guy he can go fly away. What we care about is the hole. You see the hole that we made? Because we're gonna lay that on top of our painting. And I made mine a little bit big. You'd be well advised to make it a little bit smaller. And I also think it's more interesting if it's at an angle. Let's see, I don't think I'm gonna get away with doing that because I made mine so big. So anyway, that's all right. I'll just, I'll position it like that. But before I put that down, it's time to take the webbing off. It's pretty dry, but I can see right here, it's a little bit wet. So before I go on to the next step, I'm gonna let it dry, either with a hair dryer or outside or just with some time. Be right back.